businesses then copied what you did to make like trillions.
And you did it. You didn't have a manager. You didn't have an agent.
I was like, yeah, I want to do a documentary about you. It's funny now he's doing one about himself.
27 jobs on his resume, B. What doesn't he do?
He's a hip-hop DJ and a street basketball legend, just to name a few of his talents. Bob Garcia is a Puerto Rican who's embraced his Latino roots and has been on a path of self-discovery.
The attention that we paid to our shoes was weird. And then he made it okay for the average kid to be a little more enthusiastic about shoes than regular.
That was the first article about sneaker culture in media history.
It's the Foot Game Almanac right here.
It was ahead of its time.
Woo-wee! What's happening, everybody? Peace. Good evening. Bienvenidos a todos. My name is Bobbito Garcia, a.k.a. Cool Bob Love. And I'm here today to host a phenomenal panel. We're going to journey through some amazing topics revolving around this incredible world called sneaker culture. The panel is titled, Where'd You Get Those? I want to thank the USO for bringing me on board, particularly my man, my mellow, for 50 years, 40 years, Jerry Erasmi, and the whole USO squad. Now, I'm not here by myself. I will be joined by two amazing women who are contributors to this culture in their own right. But before we do that, I want to let you know, please use the chat box to submit questions and let us know where you at. And if you have any shout outs, do. Get your fingers typing. All right. We want to hear from all of you, no matter whether you're at Nellis Air Force Base or the USO Great Lakes. We're going to be joined by a special guest a little bit later on in the program as well. But without further ado, allow me to introduce Breeana Walker. Applause, wherever you at. Hey,
hello.
Breeana, what's happening?
What's up? Hello, everyone.
Man, welcome to the show. I also want to bring to the stage, without further ado, we're going to have another applauso. Breeana, you can join me with the applauso. That means applause. Come on, put your hands together, people, wherever you at, for Beija, Velez. I feel like I'm on a mic at half court, and I just introduced like the starting five for the NBA finals, and like, yeah, I should come in and like, be giving me low fives, like, yo, what's up?
I appreciate your energy and enthusiasm. We're really excited to be on this today.
Oh my God, Beija got real official with it so quickly. Like, yes, Bob. The pressure. Well, look, this conversation is designed to be loose and for us to have fun. And I'll just, I'm excited to speak to both of you. And I'm actually going to peel back. I didn't even tell people really my position in this whole space, but I've contributed to the cause dating back to the 70s through the 80s, 90s. I've been in this for a long time. Breeana, your path crossed mine, I guess, about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And you were working on an Air Force One documentary that you were doing, I believe, for FIT when you were a student there. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Amazing.
Yes. I felt like who else to feature in the video than the one and only Bobbito Garcia, king of Air Force Ones, especially in New York. So it was inevitable, So I'm super thankful that I got to cross paths with you in that moment, for sure. And what
happened to that short?
So it got featured. Well, I threw it up on YouTube, and it was for like a last end of the year project that I was doing with a program, a sneaker culture program that was happening with FIT, Complex, and Yellow Brick. And so they actually ended up featuring it on Complex, and it actually opened a lot of doors for me to kind of connect with more people within the sneaker community and eventually speak to others about how they can get their foot in the door and understand that there's like a business side, and it just doesn't have to be some extracurricular activity or something you do for fun, but you can make a living from having a passion for sneakers.
That's amazing. And currently, you are up to a lot, and I'm gonna just put it out there open because I was playing ball one day in Crown Heights, And young sister was like, oh yeah, you know, she didn't even know who I was, you know, saying we just, you know, she's like, you got a nice jump shot. I was like, oh, thanks a lot, you know. And then it turns out, small world. She's like, oh yeah, like I work with you. She was like, you know, Breeana. She was like, I was like, yeah, that's my homegirl. And then she was like, yeah, you know, I work with her at this Adidas project and everything. I was like, Breeana's always up to something. You know?
Yeah.
So why don't you share with the audience what you're currently up to, please?
So I do a little bit of everything, but my passion will always be footwear. And with that, I was involved with a 2-year program that Adidas provided. It was called the S.E.E.D program, School for Experiential Education and Design. And it was for women of color. So there were 6 of us, and it's basically a like all hands on deck program that happened over the last 2 years. And it taught us the fundamental skills in order to get in the footwear design industry. So fun fact, you have a better chance of getting into the WNBA than a woman does in becoming a footwear designer. So,
wow.
Yeah,
wow.
So that's crazy, right? Yeah, so the opportunity there opened a lot of doors for me. I learned so much in those last 2 years and connected with so many people. And alongside that, I also am I'm a sneaker authenticator. So I just make sure sneakers are verified and they're real, because the counterfeit market these days is crazy. Yeah, so I do a little bit of everything, but my passion will always be footwear.
We're gonna table that thought, because that's something I want to get back to a little bit later on with regards to the authenticating. That's wonderful, and I'm glad that, you know, a lot of people ask me often for advice, and I do a lot of consulting work. And, you know, I always tell people, like, look, play as many lanes as you possibly can, because then you never have to compromise yourself creatively, right? Because you can tell one brand, or you can tell one agency, or you can tell one school, no, I'm good. I don't need to, you know, bend over backwards for you, because I got these 3 other hustles. So classic New Yorker you are right now. So
thank you.
Applause to you.
Thank you.
Beija, I arrived at knowing who you were in a very roundabout way. I knew who your sister was prior to even finding out who you were. Your sister does phenomenal work in the nonprofit space. I applaud what she does, you know, real talk, and what she's doing for our communities of color in particular. But by getting to know her work, I got put on to you, and it was weird, because I was at the time I was directing a series for ESPN Plus called SneakerCenter, which Breeana was supposed to be a host of. So she might, had ESPN been smarter, Breeana might have been in LA to interview you. that didn't work out, but you were thrown in the cup early on to be an on-air host before I even knew what you looked like or had ever even heard you speak. And then push came shove, and I started hearing about what you were up to, you know, in terms of modeling and, you know, playing ball. And so I naturally wanted to do a segment on you on ESPN SneakerCenter, and it came to fruition. I was so happy to, you know, to project your shine on our audience. But this is actually the first time you and I ever talking we're not face to face, but, you know, like Breeana's the homegirl, you know what I'm saying? We play ball together, we shot around, whatever. But you, sure. I need to hang out with you at some point. We need to hang out with each other, because you're like me. Like, you play ball, you got a handle, you got a jump shot, you almost play college ball, you're doing sneakers. So, you know, I feel like you're like a juggler. Like, Breeana's a juggler, I'm a juggler, and you are a juggler. So why don't you share with the audience, what are you up to currently? Which is, I know, a lot. And you could talk for probably another hour about it, but, you know.
Definitely. Well, one, I just want to thank you for witnessing my sister's work and then witnessing me through her. I think the 6 degrees of separation is profound, to say the least. You're an OG in the game. I have so much respect for your work, and thank you for acknowledging and witnessing women and women of color, because it is very hard to get in these spaces. So I'm pretty sure Breeana could say the same, but thank you so much for just putting our name in the hat and just witnessing our crafts. I
will continue to do that as well, even against opposition. When I was at ESPN, they kept on throwing in-house correspondence at me, and I was like, I'm cool. Like, I have my own vision of what the show can be, and and that's why I wanted Breeana to be a on-camera talent. I wanted Maria, aka DJ Rhea, to be on-air talent. I wanted to feature you. So that was very deliberate, very deliberate. But thank you for recognizing that.
I appreciate you being intentional, because you don't know me from a can of paint, so you didn't have to.
No, but you merited the can of paint.
Yeah, you definitely. I appreciate you adding to the resume and just really supporting my career from afar. Really does mean a lot to me. Cool. I'm crazy, to say the least, in a good, beautiful way. I have my hands on like 1,000,001 things. I really don't like when people call me an influencer. I feel like it's an insult to my craft. I don't sell flat tummy tea or gummies for hair growth. I do a lot.
Wait, hair growth? I need that. Wait, send them to me.
I feel like the terminology is just a little outplayed, to say the least. I guess I could say that I'm a multifaceted creative, from modeling, design, consulting, styling, on-camera hosting, sneaker design. It's a privilege to be the space that I'm in today. I grew up really feeling just lost and not knowing exactly how I was going to materialize and manifest a lot of ideas. So I'm just glad to be in this space today as like a creative, a full-time creative. It's honestly just a little surreal to even say it aloud. But yeah, I'm blessed, to say the least, with everything that I'm doing. I just came off the heels of designing a Wilson basketball for the WNBA's 25th anniversary. The first person ever to design a Wilson basketball for the WNBA's 25th anniversary. They just became that ball of the league, so like it's crazy. And the timing is crazy of everything. I got to pay homage to my homeboy Patrick Sanabria that passed away on Christmas Eve. And the ball ironically dropped on his birthday, July 14th, and Wilson didn't even know that was his birthday. They wanted to align it with the WNBA All-Star Game. So just a lot of beautiful synchronicities, but that's one of the projects that I'm just finished wrapping up. I have a 1-year deal with Wilson, so we're doing some community work, giving back, where I have a money cap so I can donate hard sporting goods equipment to any charity or school of my choice, and we're doing a whole bunch of other stuff. But right now I'm kind of laying low and just plotting and lining up the next moves that I'm cooking up.
Amazing. So I want to ask the both of you, since Beija, in your case, you reject the label of influencer, and Breeana, why don't you start first? I mean, clearly the three of us impact people on a global level, whether it's directly or indirectly. And Breeana wants to get some thoughts from you about who do you find that you are impacting, and it could be like crazy, hyper local. I influence my next door neighbor, or but because of all the work that you've done, over the time that I've known of you, you're clearly you're sending out signals, and so why don't you give some insight into who you're impacting?
Thank you. I would say for the most part, I mean, I grew up as a tomboy. My mom had me in shell toes and overalls from the moment I could walk, and I haven't changed since then, or changed for, the society around me. So in terms of who I feel or I know that I'm impacting, it's definitely women who look like me, younger girls coming up who, want to be comfortable in their own skin. And like, I love that I grew up in that like gap between, like early on when you had to wait in sneaker lines, and then now when you have, sneakers at the, the palm of your hand and just one click. And so it's interesting for me because I've been able to witness both. And I remember growing up and just being in the space where I was the only girl in line waiting for shoes, and I was the only girl with like all the guys playing ball. So I think for me, what I'm noticing is that I'm able to impact the next generation coming, and women my age, where it's okay to be comfortable in your skin. It's okay to wear baggy clothes and to rock the sneakers that you want to rock. Like, you don't have to conform to society's expectations of what beauty is. And I think with social media, it's both it's a gift and a curse, you know, so it can be very detrimental to someone if they get too caught up in it. But I've been, you know, and that's why I commend you, Beija, on saying that, because I feel like when you reach a certain level of popularity or a certain number of followers, people want to label you as an influencer. And for me, I think what's most important is like when you take away all of the social media, like think about today, all of social media is down. Are you that same person without all of this? Can you bring the same things and then some to the table? And I think that's important. And I always push that forward to like people I know, people I'm meeting, just making sure you stay true to your core. And I've been doing that since forever. So I'm definitely impacting, you know, girls my age and girls coming up to do the same thing.
So I want to say, I'm sorry, Beija, what did you say?
I said, she better preach, girl.
Yeah, I gotta say that like you amaze me, Breeana, because I don't even know how you do it. Because the first time I was telling the ESPN like staff, I was like, yo, I want to get Breeana Walker. And I was like, oh, let me try to sell them on her. And I went to your Instagram page and I was like, yo, she got like 5 posts and like 25,000 followers. And I'm like, yo, how did someone do this? Like everybody's like, oh my God, I gotta post every day. I gotta do stories. I gotta do reels. And like, I'm like, yo, like she's so smooth with it. She got like 10 posts. You know what I'm saying? And like one of them is maybe a sneaker. I'm like, yo, like she's doing it. Like you're really doing it. You know?
Those type of people really be the ones be doing the work though, for real. I have so much respect for people like that. That's so fire. Is it still like that though, where you just like low key with it?
Yes, very, very. I try not to get caught up in it because you can, you know? So I always make sure like, and that's another thing, even when I was in the S.E.E.D program, they were like encouraging us to make a Instagram for the designs we were working on. And that's great and all, but it's like, I am so much more when I log off and that's always gonna matter to me. So as long as that's okay, then we'll figure out the Instagram stuff and Twitter stuff as we go along.
I love that you're more just focused on the intention of the work and it's not about the glitz and glamour, because some people, I just feel like, get lost in that. So that's fire that you're just so present and intentional with your work.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Beija, so who are you impacting? Because you on the other hand have like a great amount of followers, and I imagine that sometimes I mean I myself I respond to every single DM that I get, right? I respond to every comment, even if it's just like a like. But after a while, it's like, you know, the amount of attention, the amount of like, you know, inquiries and, yo, can you listen to my music? And what do you think of these? And it's just like overwhelming. So, you know, how do you sift through that and figure out who you are impacting? Like, who's your audience?
The people that I think that I'm impacting, also what, coming off the heels of what Breeana said, I feel like I'm also impacting those young girls who are just trying to be comfortable within their own skin, and also folks that are defying societal norms. I, you know, had the opportunity to do a walk-on for a basketball team for college, and I ended up getting a basketball scholarship. Actually dropped out after a semester because I wanted to be a designer. And a lot of people were actually telling me that I was dreaming too big. There was like, there's no way you can model and be a designer. And at that time, I didn't even know really who to look up to or give like an example of like, this is exactly the model of what I'm trying to do. So I was kind of like winging it and like praying to God that something happened. And, you know, I'm blessed enough to see the ideas that I was thinking to manifest during this time of my life. But I feel like I'm that person who's a representation of not moving in a linear way. I've always kind of been all over the place. I'm not the like, you know, go to high school, go to college, get married, and then that's it. And for some people that does work, but I feel like I'm that vessel of a person to reassure folks that, you know, you can go up, you can go down, you can go sideways, as long as you feel comfortable and you feel like you're walking in your truth and you feel reassured in your dreams. I'm that person to send you that inspiration. I definitely have been in spaces of doubt, of insecurities, of fear, of overthinking or feeling inadequate. So it is definitely a privilege to be in the space that I'm in now, for people to see my crafts. And it's not just a reflection of maybe how I look or the work that I put in, but it's a testament to the time that I've put in. Also, I come from a lineage of family members that have actually served in the military as well. My parents were in the Army, stationed in Wiesbaden, Germany. I just found out, I was texting my dad today, I just found out that my grandpa Jones and Jack were World War II veterans. I have my brother stationed, he was in the Navy, he works at the Pentagon now. Saying all that to say, I come from a lineage of folks who have served and protected this country, and all the steps that they made during those lifetimes is also a byproduct. It had a ripple effect for me to be in the space that I am today, to even be able to imagine and create. So I appreciate them, and I do also appreciate the folks tuning in who are protecting and serving this country, because we wouldn't be able to be in a space to imagine and be free. So I'm just beyond grateful, to say the least.
Boom. We were supposed to
answer the question. That was
long. we were gonna get to that love and support for the troops at the end, but you just nailed it. Like
I already went there. I'm so excited.
All good. But listen, speaking of the service people, we are gonna be joined right now by the Nellis Air Force Base, and it's so funny when I first what up, Nellis? When I first saw it, I thought about the Nelly song, Air Force Ones. I was like, yeah. But what's going on, Nellis Air Force Base? How y'all feeling out there?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Good to be here. Thank you. I'm Sarah with the USO. I'm a Center Operations Manager. I have Daphne here. She's our UNLV student intern as an Engelstad scholar. And then Senior Airman Smith with the 57th OSS. Pretty cool listening into everybody's conversations. I have to admit, I'm a sneaker noob, if that's a term that y'all use. I'm not big on anything culture-wise. Busy at work, busy at school, busy with the kiddos, just busy with the military life. So it's very interesting hearing everybody's background, and I think Senior Airman Smith has a question for y'all.
All right, bring it on.
I have a quick question for you. Now, you mentioned that you went to school for what was it, the sneakers, right, or something? Like you have a degree.
Like we're just very impressed on how you got to where you are. Like how do you get like going to high school and then you decide, like what was that process like for you?
That's a question for both of y'all.
Okay, I got you. So it's actually very interesting. I actually went to school for interior design, and I have my degree in that. So I studied at the Fashion Institute of Technology, did that, and then I reached a space where I wasn't sure if that's what I wanted to pursue full time. And my passion has always been sneakers. So FIT at the time offered a program called Sneaker Essentials, which kind of taught you the ins and outs of the sneaker world, from design to manufacturing and also the business side. And so from that program, I was able to, reevaluate what my interests really is and what I want to pursue as like a full-time career. And at that same time, I got hired from the company GOAT as a sneaker authenticator. And then in between that, I went back to FIT to study footwear design, and then got accepted into this footwear design program with Adidas called S.E.E.D. So I kind of just jumped from one thing to the next, figuring it out. And I still am today, but definitely more confident on where I want to go moving forward.
Amazing. I'm learning about her while y'all learn about her too. So I'm just in awe, just as you all are. This is amazing. I'm so excited.
Right back at you.
This is so dope. What was your question again?
The question was, you can speak.
To me, we're just so impressed. Like, how do you go from an average Joe or Jane and then get to where you are today? Like, was it all networking? Like you say, you're very passionate, so you had to make those connections for yourselves. And like, I'm not a creative person at all. So for y'all to just be like on a piece of paper and then boom, like that's right. Like, what's the design process and like the creative process?
I feel like also personally speaking with my own life, there is no blueprint to success and whatever that may be. Everyone has their own identity. We have our own feelings. We have just our own visions. There is no clear-cut plan on how to get to what you're envisioning. And sometimes it's really just trusting the process. And my sister actually told me a quote that I live by, and it's like, don't go searching for the answers, live in the questions and the answers will come. And I feel like when you're really just being intentional with the work and you're putting your heart into it and you're passionate about it, and it's not about, I'm doing this for the money, I'm doing this so I can pop off, I'm doing this for the clout, but you're doing it because it genuinely makes you feel whole, or it just makes you feel like you're walking more into your truth. I feel like that needs to be at the core of what you're doing. That's like the deep little spiritual aspect. But then obviously you got to hit the ground running. You got to be networking stuff. Like I said before, I did drop out of college. You know, obviously I wouldn't advise that for everyone. Everyone's path is different. I just had a gut feeling within myself that was telling me to chase my dreams. And I was like endlessly in the library, educating myself, people who I looked up to. I was Googling who they looked up to see what they were educating themselves on. But if you really want something and you just take the time to really, educate yourself and hit the ground running. I mean, obviously you also have to network as well. But it just depends obviously on what angle you're wanting to approach things. I also feel like it's very key to have a community of like-minded people around you to support you as well. It can be hard trying to just run and gun it out here and doing things by yourself. So it's good to have mentors or someone who could guide you along the way too.
All right, well, Nellis Air Force Base, I want to thank you for joining us today. We got another location that's gonna pop in, but y'all stay blessed out there.
Peace, Nellis.
Thank you so much.
and thank you for joining, for real. Yeah.
Take care, y'all.
So Beija and Breeana, this is fun. I feel like we could do this like once a week. Let's go.
Podcast, people tune in.
Right? He's here.
Yeah, I'm loving this. So one thing I want to get to. Oh, we joined by the U.S. Great Lakes now. Wait, what's happening?
Hello.
Okay, it's a party in here.
I love the energy.
USO Great Lakes. We are just north of the greatest city on earth, Chicago, Illinois. Yeah.
Hey.
So we are home to the Navy's only boot camp. So the U.S. Navy only has one boot camp, and it's here. So we're here. We've got plenty of questions for y'all whenever you're ready.
Go for it.
All right. I'm Seaman Recruit Morales. I have 2 questions for you guys today. My first question is, what is your favorite shoe concept?
That's a good question.
Shoe concept, design?
And I suppose you could say that.
Okay.
And also, how do you adapt to the high demand of new sneaker designs?
Yeah, Breeana, you want to tackle that first? Since you all up in the industry behind the scenes.
All right, let's see. Oh, this is hard. Favorite shoe concept. I gotta stick to my roots on this one. It's definitely going to be the Jordan 1 classic.
There you go.
I'm sorry. It is a shoe. It is a shoe that has withstood the test of time for sure. Do I feel like it's a little bit overdone these days? For sure. But if you're talking classic silhouette, it is one of few, including the Air Force One, that kind of basically bridge the gap between sport and culture, which are 2 important passions to me and always have been. So I think that shoe alone and the person who debuted it alone, it definitely makes it, probably at least the most important silhouette for me. And then your other question was how do we keep up on the high demands of new sneakers coming in?
Yep.
Well, from a design standpoint, I'm going to answer this from being a design intern and how that goes. So it's really interesting in terms of it's always going to come back to the consumer. Consumer is number one. And because it's honestly, what's really important is like consumer and storytelling. So no product is good without a good story. And what people fail to realize is that you can't just throw a shoe out there and throw colors and textures on it, but there's got to be some meaning. It could be something super minute, but if it has meaning and you can evolve that story, then that's how you're going to create a shoe that's going to have longevity and is going to be more desirable than your generic, simple colorway that you're going to continuously see on a bunch of different silhouettes. So consumer, and a good story, and you're good to go.
Great answer. Beija, you want to tackle that from your perspective?
Breeana's literally the perfect person to speak on this.
Yeah, you're right.
You got it. You're a designer. You got this.
He's like, I do this in my sleep. Personally, for me, I'm literally right now, y'all, I have shoes over here, and then there's a lot of shoes over here. So I'm like looking at which one that I like the most.
Why don't you talk about the Adidas the Adidas track shoes that you did? Because that was your first collab, if I recall correctly, right?
Yeah, I designed. I don't want to grab it, Bobbito, because that shoe, I just feel like we could have went harder with it, but it did have an impact on my career. But I actually designed a shoe in partnership with Adidas in 2019, where they flew talent from all over the country to represent different cities. So I was representing the city of Atlanta, where I'm from, and we got to go to the headquarters in Germany, and then we did a workshop in London, and I made a one-of-one shoe out of I think it was probably like 50 plus people, talent. And out of all the people, I was the only woman that they chose to mass produce the shoe. Initially, we were supposed to have 5,000 units of the shoe sold. But then we ran into some technical issues. So we just did a friends and family package. But it did teach me a lot about just design, working with the design team in Germany, the language barrier, and trying to have that universal language of communicating with shoe design. It taught me a lot just also about the storytelling aspect and how people really have a connection with product when there's just a deeper meaning behind it. And for me, that taught me also, when Breeana was just talking about longevity, I think with product, what's important is that we want to take into consideration a shoe that you don't just cop just for the moment. I feel like function is important, comfort, obviously the design aspect, silhouette. But in addition to that, are we going to be pulling this out of our closet 5 to 10, 15 years from now? You know, fashion and the footwear industry are probably one of the most polluting industries behind like agriculture and oil. And a lot of people don't know that. So it's like, let's be more intentional with our design. I'm talking a lot, but my favorite shoe outside of the Adidas, I really like the Jordan 14. A lot of people don't like that shoe, but it just looks like a little car on your foot, and I just think it's so smooth. Yeah, it just looks like you're wearing like a little automobile. So I'd probably say that's probably automobile. I'd probably say that's my favorite shoe concept thus far from a design perspective.
Cool. I think we have 2 more questions from USO Great Lakes. Do one of you want to step up? He was a Jordan 1 fan, right?
Yeah. I come from a family, we love sneakers. Where I'm from, sneakers are important. So it's very important that you put out your best style at all times.
Amazing.
But good afternoon. My name is Stephen Boyd. I wanted to know, especially being females and women of color within this industry, what's some advice you would want to share with other future designers, especially somebody who falls in the same intersectionality that you go through today? And then my second one was, what makes this industry so competitive, or what do you feel makes this industry so competitive, especially for you two?
I could hop on that right now.
You take it.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
I'm just speaking from personal experience. I'm pretty sure you all have heard of the term gatekeeping. I personally, from creative consulting for artists or maybe in the sneakerwear space, I deal with a lot of ego and pride in men. And especially when I'm not stroking someone's ego, it's kind of hard when you feel like maybe the talent just isn't enough or doesn't suffice, but then you're realizing you're just dealing with people and their pride. So that's something that I've had to navigate through. Recently, brands that I have been collaborating with, like the Wilson WNBA ball that I just designed, it was very reassuring to find people who were intentional and present with my story. I designed this ball all from my bed. I've been dealing with a spine injury now, I think for 10 plus months. My legs had stopped working. I thought I was paralyzed. I have yet to really tell this story to anyone, but I was creating this relationship with people over Zoom call, and it was just so beautiful to see how people could be so present. So saying that to say, it was reassuring to build that relationship with folks over Zoom call when I've been in spaces with face-to-face where folks have maybe blocked opportunities or really didn't be present with the story that I was trying to tell. What was your other question?
What makes the sneaker industry so competitive, again, considering the category that you go through, being a woman of color.
Yeah, and I think also being a woman and then being a woman of color is there's just people who are blocking. It's crazy because sneaker culture literally is it moves from with Black and brown people. I have actually a homeboy, Shake, who owns a Black guy who owns 3 sneaker stores in Milwaukee, and I think majority of the sneaker stores are not owned by, you know, people of color. So it's hard to sometimes get into these spaces. I've been seeing brands like Jordan and Nike and Adidas that, like, after last summer when a lot of the movements were happening, they were trying to put up funding to support Black and brown and underprivileged youth to have access to certain spaces. And I really feel like a lot of people just need to put their money where their mouth is. Also, when we were just talking to the other military base, just talking about people having access to the community to support these dreams and having access to certain spaces. Really, just as a woman, it's hard. And then when you add woman of color aspect, it could just be a little, I feel like, intimidating for folks, knowing that you can, I feel like we can innovate and we have stories to tell. But I feel like I'm ranting at this point. So we'll get back in. But personally, for me, I just feel like we're definitely coming into a day and age of breakthrough where we're seeing the impact that we have of people of color and just as women and just as a collective, as the human species, and how beautiful it is when we work together as a unit and the impact that we can have if we all work collectively.
There it is. There it is. USO Great Lakes, we are grateful for your time and for your energy of sharing amazing, really cool questions. We have another guest coming up, so we're going to take away. Have a blessed day out there, okay?
Thank you.
God, they are so good.
They're awesome.
All right. I don't know if our next guest is in the green room yet. I love that they actually have a green room for Zoom. So like I was back on a TV show. I was like, yo, where's the grapes? You know, you go to the green room and they always got like, you know, like crackers and grapes and stuff. So we have a question from the audience, and it's a question that you know, I think any of us have received quite often. So I'm gonna adapt it. The question was, how many sneakers do each of us have? And I'm gonna adapt it to, what sneakers do you have on your feet right in this moment, and why? How did you choose that shoe for this space? What?
I am chilling in the house. I have on slides.
You got on socks?
I'm not a fraud, y'all. I
got
swear.
socks on too.
Yeah. I know this is a secret culture program, but I am chilling in socks right now, like literally. Yeah.
Now, where you at with it?
I have socks. I don't even have socks on. I'm like barefoot.
Yo, we're chilling. We're big chilling. But you said how many shoes do we own?
Yeah, well, you might as well just go with it.
Shit. Maybe 300 or 400 here, and then I think maybe 50 in Atlanta. I don't know. I feel like my mom's about to text me right now and be like, girl, you got way more in Atlanta. You need to come get them. But, yeah, I've got shoes in every attic that I never got.
Speaking of your fam, Uncle Hector says what's up from Connecticut, Beija. He's in the chat.
So much for tuning in. This means so much that you tuned in.
Breeana, I'm gonna guess that as an authenticator, you must maybe not own, but you need to inspect a lot of shoes to know what's right and what's wrong. So
correct.
But do you wind up owning a lot of shoes as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. But the thing about me, I'm one of those, when they start creasing or they get too dirty, I get rid of them and then I get another pair. So I'm at like 150 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't have enough closet space to keep going right now, but I do want to keep that number going up. It's terrible.
Be
Let me,
careful. It gets to a point where you may need a storage room or something.
allow me to share that there are a number of nonprofit organizations to our audience that collect lightly worn or brand new sneakers and bring them to developing areas throughout the world. There's a number of them that there's one in New York that's servicing unhoused people in particular. But you can go to hoopsforhope.org. You can go to Soul for Souls. I mean, you could just Google, like, you know, sneaker donating. It's a big movement in the last 10, 15 years. It's really picked up steam as people have, you know, amassed shoes and collections and perhaps not have always known what to do with them when they're done. Like a shoe that's creased could be like, you know, the most amazing footwear for a kid who walks around and playing ball barefooted. So let's all keep that in mind. We have another guest from the USO. What? Ian Wright. Let's bring on Ian Wright. He is a Army veteran, and he's in charge of USO gaming. And he definitely looks like he's gaming right now. Like, he looks like he just finished like designing 5 video games in his sleep. You know?
First of all, my boss is watching. I am not in charge. I can put that out right now because he's about to give me a nasty message. You told them what? No. I'm not.
My bad. No. You didn't say that. It's just me ad-libbing, you know,
you good,
reading text at the same time and getting chats at the same time and trying to like navigate this whole space. So
they told me specifically I'm not allowed to ask what sneakers everyone is wearing. So I'm glad that you did the heat check before I got on. So thank you for that. Yeah. Just thank you for that. But no, what's up, y'all? Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to talk to y'all.
Cool. This stuff is official. I'm intimidated right now.
Don't be. If I turn the lights on in here, it's super shabby. Like, it doesn't look good at all. I keep the lights down intentionally.
Well, it's I love the neon lighting.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I have my baby sneaker collection behind me right here. It's nothing compared to what Beija's got, so I gotta cover that up and make sure that.
Well, I see some. I seen some. It looked like you. What were those ones? The baby blue ones you had?
Yeah, I got the university blues. I'm a Chapel Hill graduate, so legally I'm required to own university blues at all times. Yeah, but yeah, I got those, and I got a couple others. What's that?
So you got some heat on deck then?
Yeah, I got some.
Okay,
no.
for sure.
No, my favorite pair are an Adidas though. So I know I got this is like an Adidas crowd. My favorite pair, I have the Adidas Mandalorians that were part of the Mandalorian Star Wars crossover. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so like had to get those. But no, it's enough about my shoes. Let me ask y'all some questions here, so people are not just like thinking that I'm here to talk about my shoes. What do y'all kind of mentioned, Breeana, you kind of mentioned a little bit talking about like online access and like how, you know, now you can do it all over the internet. What do y'all think about the huge increase in like resellers and online platforms? Like, do you think that it's like inorganically driven up demand and prices for sneakers, or is it just giving more people access to shoes now?
I think it started with the intention to allow more access, especially because, you know, when it was just waiting in line kind of thing, there were, you know, a couple times where things got violent and there were very sad endings over a shoe. So I do understand, you know, brands' intentions behind, you know, going virtual and having it online and like in the palm of your hand from an app. But I think, you know, the resale culture, especially with, you know, apps like StockX, even the app I work for, I think it's turned into kind of this quick instant gratification situation for footwear. And as someone who's very passionate about it, and I see sneakers as an art form, it's art to me. It's not just a shoe. So it's kind of disappointing and a little sad to see it evolve into something that's just like a business. So I think it started with good intentions, but I think it's evolved into something that I don't know if it's going to stop, because there are super passionate people who just want the pair to have, but I feel like we're getting a lot of people who, again, they're following the hype. This is the #1 shoe that's coming out on sneakers this week, so I'm going to get it and I'm probably going to sell it. And you're taking away that opportunity for someone somewhere who's been, you know, wanting the shoe for maybe years. So it's there's pros and cons to it, but from where I stand, I hate to see it go in the direction it's gone today.
Yep. I feel like Breeana hit it on the nail. When Kobe passed, it was really sad to see genuine hardcore fans who really wanted his product, but then the people who are getting these new releases and just reselling it. And I feel like a lot of people who are actually passionate about sneaker culture, I see them venting all the time on Twitter, and they're like, I can't even get the product that I want because people are just trying to get, like a quick cash grab. Granted, I do respect people from an entrepreneurial aspect who are trying to hustle and get that bag, but then it's like, from a sneaker person who's genuinely passionate from a art perspective or the storytelling or the art of collaboration, it is frustrating when you can't get your hands on a pair. And honestly, I don't even feel like it's going to slow down anytime soon. And I feel like it's kind of diluted the game. Like, it'd be like people wearing shoes. I'm like, now, you don't know nothing about that shoe. You just saw it on StockX and you paid probably a month's worth of rent to get this shoe, but you don't really know nothing about it. But what it also has gone to show is that how sneakers are becoming this universal language. I feel like every soul, an outsole, every soul has a story to tell. And it is crazy to see like sneakers become this worldwide phenomenon where people are just genuinely that intrigued by it. May it be from a selling perspective or people who are wanting to design or people who are just wanting to tune in like the folks today and listen. Hopefully we get to a place where maybe shoes, they're producing a little bit more units so we don't have to pay $1,000 to $1,200 for some shoes because that's honestly ridiculous. But I guess only time can tell.
Y'all I have my next question. I feel like y'all maybe were a little split on it, but like might still go the same way. But with the online, like with the selling, like a new thing that like people do, and like the people that make them, like I applaud like their ingenuity, but the people that use bots, right, to like scrape the internet and automatically enter them into stuff, like do y'all think that's like taking advantage of the system, or is that the new hustle? Like, is that the new hustle culture of that people kind of figured out a way to game the system and they're going to get theirs?
I think it's disgusting. It makes me so mad. I wanted shoes. I'm like, I really wanted them shoes. I was like, y'all don't care about this? People just trying to come up on the bag. But that's what I'm saying. I respect people who are trying to hustle, but then I do feel sorry for the people who genuinely may appreciate the storytelling aspect of the design, or the people who are behind the product who actually designed the product, but not people who really want it, don't have access to it. But I just feel like it's diluting the game. Like, it's like overly saturated right now, but it's really not going anywhere anytime soon. Like, there are so many people who are literally making six figures to becoming millionaires off of reselling sneakers, which is crazy to say the least.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna do a zoom out, Ian, and show you an opposite spectrum to think about this. So first of all, like, for decades, right, there's only been really 4 participants in the trade of sneakers, right? The manufacturers, the brands who design them and distribute them. Then you have your one-stop distributors or your black market distributors, and then you have your retail shops, right? And so now that there's a 5th group, and it's a very large group, and they're mostly completely outside the sneaker industry, which, it's odd for me to hear people be like, oh, it's for the culture and for the love. It's like, there's no sneaker brand that exists for the culture. Every sneaker brand exists as companies to draw revenue, and most of them are publicly traded. So we are in a very a blurry line where, like in the art world, right? You have fine art and you have commercial art, and there's a super clear line of which is which. And in the sneaker world, we have shoes that are looked at as perhaps fine art that are completely commercial. And there's no fine art sneakers unless someone's customizing them, which I think is where it's at. There's always an undercurrent to every movement in sneaker throughout the decades, right? So now that people are figuring out the bots and people are selling the sneaker for $20,000, there's an undercurrent to that where people are gonna be like, you know what? I don't even want to wear sneakers that people know about. I want to wear a brand or a model that no one knows about. And there's always been that really small, like, connoisseur community that whether they have to do it by hand, and customize it or wear it a different way or whatever, they figure it out. We always figure out how to reinvent what we're going to wear and to make it personalized and meaningful to us. And I think that's the beauty. And that's how sneaker culture continues to, not sneaker industry, but sneaker culture continues to thrive.
Yeah, y'all are so good at like y'all like can you see my screen? Like my next question, like my last question right here is literally where do you see the trend for sneaker culture in the next 5 to 10 years? Because I wanted to know if y'all think are we in a bubble right now? Because like sneakers are pretty much at an all-time high as far as like popularity and like who's buying them, and like and maybe that has to do a lot with the bots and everything. But like, are we in that bubble? Is it gonna pop? Or are we here to stay?
Well, I just want to piggyback off of what Bobbito just said, because I think there was, I don't know, I spent a lot of time just like reading and watching different documentaries on, sneaker culture, sneaker history. And for me, it's interesting to see, just to your point of like, back in the 90s, 80s, sneakers were, especially like in more urban communities, not everyone had cars, not everyone was living this luxurious lifestyle. So it was what you wore that kind of, showed off who you were. That was the way you spoke for yourself, what you had on. And a lot of times what people are going to look at is feet first. It happened then, it's happening now. And, back in the day, you had like superstars and people, a lot of like, the street dancers would like do the chunky laces to like emphasize their superstars, to kind of make them stand out. And you usually knew those were like break dancers, or you had people spray painting on their shoes. So there was a level of taking an already classic silhouette at that time and then personalizing it to, showcase who you are. And in terms of sneaker culture and where it's at now and where I think it might go, I think what's happening is that somehow everyone's fallen into this same box. Like, even if we're talking about the trend of dunks have been around forever, but suddenly we're yeah, like, and now it's like in $100 shoe that people looked over 10, 15 years ago. Now people are paying $500-$600 for it because it's back in style. But the thing is, dunks have been around forever. So what's happening is I feel like we're losing this idea of individuality a little bit, and that it's okay to not look like everybody else. So I can't say that it's gonna change. I think what's happening right now is gonna stay pretty stagnant, and I do think, again, social media has a lot to do with that. And like, even for me, there's sometimes sneakers that are dropping and they're releasing, and sometimes it's a retro, sometimes it's a new colorway. And if I don't hit on it, I am on like the first trip down to Brooklyn to like one of the last standing mom and pop sneaker shops to get something that came out years ago, just to fulfill that desire. Because for me, it's not about what's right now, but about what I'm into. So it's like, okay, I didn't hit on the sneaker that just released that everyone got, but it's okay, because I still am interested on all these sneakers that came out way before my time. And I think people need to like hone in on what do you like? There's something in a song I heard before, and it says, do you like what you like, or do you like the way they gave it to you? And I think that's what a lot of people need to, like, at least for my generation, is like, take a step back and look, like, do you really like this, or do you like it because everyone else does? And and when you can really separate the two, that's how you're going to figure out if you need to follow this trend or break away from it. So hopefully we get back to how it used to be, but only time will tell.
She answered the question. I was in Atlanta styling an artist, getting some pieces. I couldn't find Air Forces anywhere. Air Force Ones. They're reselling Air Forces. I was like genuinely perplexed, because in Cali you could find some, but like in Atlanta you could always find some fresh Forces. And I hit up the homies, they're like, you gotta go buy it from a reseller. I'm like, since when did they start reselling Air Forces? Like, I was so frustrated. I had to like pull up to this guy, like seemed super sketch. I was like, what is what's the times that we live in now? It's like crazy.
All right, Ian, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank y'all. I appreciate the insight.
Yeah, no, you had great questions.
I feel like I need to elevate my aesthetic in my home and get some neon lights.
Listen, I'll show you how to do the neon if you show me how to get like the good sneakers. So we can talk later. We'll trade some ideas. I got you.
Thank you so much, Ian.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank y'all.
Ian is scheming to get a pair of unreleased shoes. he wants dibs on your next collab, Beija.
Yeah. We'll try to make it happen. We'll see what we can do.
Well, listen, it's time, and I really, it's crazy because I really feel like I could continue to talk for like another hour. Beija, I have to let you know the falls on the chat. He's sending you love. I don't know if you know that.
Who?
Eddie Velez.
Oh, my dad. Yes, my dad. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you.
Got mad support. So, Beija, why don't you Breeana, thank you for joining us. Beija, thank you for joining us today. The USO. Beija, you said it so eloquently earlier. So collectively, why don't you speak for all three of us in thanking our troops out there and our service people because of who you are. Go ahead, Beija. It's your floor.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I come from a lineage of people who have served and protected this country, and I can speak on behalf of everyone on this panel that we just appreciate you all's sacrifice and intention in serving the country, protecting our families, and we would not be in these full-time creative spaces being able to imagine and dream if we didn't have folks like you all who are serving this country and protecting us. So thank you so much for your time and your commitment. And we're just eternally grateful. And also thank you for taking the time to tune in, because I know I was ranting and all over the place. So thank you for your patience.
Yeah, I wish we had more time with, because I was actually wondering, like, okay, if you're on a base, you know, and the nearest city is like how many miles away? Like, I was wondering, like, how do they keep up their game? You know, I mean, I'm sure you could order it online, but whatever. That's for another day of conversation. Breeana and Beija, the two of you are amazing. I hope to sit and break bread with both of you in our socks.
Yes.
And
What's up? Breeana, you got to get some socks because you're bare feet right now.
I know.
He's big chill.
Have a good evening, okay?
Yeah.
You as well,
Cool.
Bobby. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We appreciate
for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.